All right. Well, you have finally received your well-deserved offer, and you will start with McKinsey, right? So,
Yes.
first of all, huge congratulations for your achievement. I mean, you must be feeling super satisfied, right?
Yes, it was a long process, and I mean, you expect it, but still, like when you receive the offer, it's a great moment and a great achievement, I would say. And
Yes.
thank you, yeah, and thank you again, maybe for the
Yes, of course. I
opportunity.
mean, you're very welcome. I mean, as you can imagine, it's always great to have another mentee join one of these big firms. So, I mean, if you think about the recruiting process with McKinsey, right? So, how has this recruiting process evolved for you, right? Because I think it went through some time, and you had already to deal with some ramifications of COVID, right?
Yes, it took longer than expected. So partly it was on my side, some personal stuff on my side, but as well they had a situation with COVID and and the situation in Europe, and so they. I mean, the process itself, it took longer, but there was also a good side on that
Mhm.
because it gave me more time. It gave me more time to absorb everything we did, and for me to feel completely confident,
Mhm.
and to enable myself to develop this skill to the point that it really becomes my second nature. That when I come to the interview, I don't even think about, what am I going to be asked now, but whatever I'm asked, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Maybe this is not a good advice for other people, but this is how it worked for me.
Mhm.
So for the first round, I was practicing cases. I
Mhm.
mean, based on the work that we did.
Mhm.
But in between the first and the second round, I did no cases. I just did not practice anything,
Yeah.
and it was a long time. I just felt that for me, it was enough to repeatedly listen to our videos.
Yes.
And by, listening to, let's say, the perfect case,
Mhm.
I was able to be familiar so much with the process
Mhm.
that I just knew at any point in time of the process of the case,
Mhm.
I knew what I'm expected to do.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
This is indeed a very interesting point that you're mentioning, because I mean, the reason why you were able to do this is because you essentially learned casing in a different way compared to probably most other people, right? So you were not learning a lot of frameworks, right, which you were then trying to just recall when you were in the situation, but it was more you needed to build a certain way of thinking through these issues, right? And once you had completely internalized this, it was more about just keeping yourself in the mode of listening to such problems and then just doing it in the moment when you're asked, right?
exactly, exactly.
Cool. So, I mean, let's maybe dive a little bit deeper into this, right, in the preparation that we did together, because we have covered both the principles and also the process of mastering the case interview, and of course also the personal experience interview. So now, what would you say? How, because I've triggered this already now. So how was this process of solving cases different from what you maybe saw before, and what you've maybe seen also in other people who are preparing for these interviews?
Mhm. So maybe, uh, well, maybe let me begin with an advice that I
Mhm.
received even before I started preparation for the interview.
Yeah.
I had a call with a McKinsey partner
Mhm.
we were talking about McKinsey and whether I would be a good fit and all of that.
Yeah.
So he gave me a very good advice, and that is, in the interview, one of the most important things is that you need to show confidence, or you have to be confident while you are solving the case.
Yeah.
And for me, the approach that we did was perfect for achieving this objective, for
Mhm.
me being confident. And
Mhm.
let me explain. So if you I mean, for me, at least, when I was reading, and of course, everybody probably reads those books, and we Google and we read all this endless material about case preparation. There is endless knowledge. So you can like prepare yourself for 5 years and learn new frameworks and learn new types of cases, and it never stops. And you would always be wondering, like, what am I going to be asked? And will I know this? And have I ever been faced with such a question? So that's one approach. This approach that we did, as opposed to gaining new knowledge, it's basically learning a new skill that is kind of independent of the question and of the knowledge. So you learn, you train your mind to solve problems in a structured way by using a very simple logics that everybody of us has, intrinsically. And this gave me exactly that, the confidence that whenever I'm faced with a question or a problem, I'm just simply, okay with it, because I know the process in my mind is structured and I will come to the solution. And maybe there is just one point that I would also mention here that was very important for me, that I realized later on that, I learned here. So before, for example, when I got a case question, or if I got a quant question or whatever that was, my mind would immediately jump to the solution, and I was thinking about the solution, while this is not something that you should do in a case. So that was my case, when they give me a question, by internalizing this skill with the work that we did, my mind was not jumping into the solution, which you're not even supposed to do and you're not able to do. You just show them that you have an approach how to come to the solution that you will come at a certain point when you're required to do. So this, I would say, was like so important for me, and it worked well because the feedback was great.
Yes. Well, obviously, otherwise they wouldn't have extended you the offer, right? So now, but even also like beyond the case, right? Because in McKinsey specifically, you also have the so-called PEI, right? The personal experience interview, right? Which is really, really important, and which is also, I think, very, very much misunderstood by people, around the world. So, what role did this PEI play in your success and also the preparation for the PEI?
Well, yes, it was so important. First of all, PEI comes as the first, after like this general chit chat and introduction. This is the first part of the interview, and it is so important that you show not only who you are, but that you have those intrinsic skills or dimensions that they are looking for. And with your videos, I was able to, I'm an experienced candidate, so I have stories and I have experiences. But what your approach enabled me to do is to tell my stories in a way that they will understand how I don't know, deal with problems or show leadership or whatever that is. So, for example, I had, of course, 4 interviews. And in each of those 4 interviews, they were, in the beginning, they would tell me, they will ask me they will interrupt me and have some additional questions, etc. But in none of those 4 interviews, I had no additional questions. And also in the feedback, they told me that usually they don't give feedback for the PEI part, but they gave me fantastic feedback. And that was because I was able to understand what they are looking for, and to share my stories in a way that they could immediately, understand that and see and evaluate.
Yes.
So it was so, and also, of course, it's the first part of the interview. So if you show, if they're happy with it, they are even more willing to help you through.
Absolutely. This last point is absolutely true, right? I mean, just if you put yourself into the situation of the interviewer, if I am interviewing a candidate and the PEI is great, right? Then of course I already have a good impression, and then I want this candidate to be successful, right?
Exactly.
But if I'm already annoyed by the PEI because the candidate didn't even understand what I was asking, well, then maybe my motivation as an interviewer to make this candidate successful is not that high, right? So starting on a good foot into each interview is, of course, very, very relevant. Cool. Now, if we now step back a little bit, right? Because I would like to talk also a little bit about how we started working together, and specifically at the time when you reached out, right? Where did you stand at that point in your preparation, and what did you decide to then reach out and seek professional help?
Yes. So I wanted to work for McKinsey, and I was serious about it. Mm-hmm. And however, I thought that, well, maybe, you know, I can do it, and I will just read some books and do some cases, and that will be okay. Mm-hmm. But then I did some more research, and I think it was Prep Lounge or somewhere, or Facebook, I don't remember now, but I saw your video, and maybe you remember when we had our first call. One of the things, well, first of all, the content of, I mean, everything you said, even though I didn't maybe understand it completely at the time, I felt that there was something very, you know, true to what you're saying. And that this attitude that you had, a little arrogance that you showed, I thought like, okay, this guy must, you know, be very confident on what he's talking about, and let's try. So we had this first call, and I mean, the approach that you explained was completely different to everything that I've seen by then. I mean, it was, as I said, I didn't know about cases then, but this seemed, you know, so logical, what you're saying, and I just decided that I'm going to do it because I was very serious about it.
Yes. Very good. So, I mean, finally, maybe as the last point, any major tip or hint that you would give to those people who are currently just embarking on their preparation journey for McKinsey or maybe one of the other big strategy consulting firms? What would be your 1 or 2 major tips that you would give someone?
Well, overall, don't make it like as a life or death, you know, situation. Try as much as possible to be to see it as a game, or to see it as, you know, a fun process, because it really is. It's a friendly conversation, not an exam. And maybe something concrete. This worked for me, so maybe somebody could use it as well. For me, what worked is that, for example, in the quant part, which I know that many people struggle with, I wrote down when I would receive a question, I would write down the question so that I'm, you know, always aware of what the question is, because when you do all these calculations, you might confuse yourself with units or whatever that is. Write down the question, and maybe, if possible, write down the steps, and then explain or lay out the steps that you're going to use, so that you, and this is also the feedback that I received was very good. So you show that you have a structure also in the quant part, and then later on it's so much easier to do the calculations, because you know where you are in the process, and they are also more able to help you.
Yes, absolutely. Because this is actually what they want to see, right? It's not even that important that you don't do a single calculation mistake. They want to see that you have a logic according to which you're approaching this question, and that you're able to maybe translate a question into a numerical representation, and then just work through it step by step. Fantastic.
Yes.
Great.
I had a mistake in my calculation. And and don't think that you need to be perfect and have everything like 100%. It's not like that. Everybody makes mistakes. Maybe some people don't, but I did a mistake in the calculation part, which was not relevant at all, because they saw that I know what I'm talking about, what I'm looking for. And if I say that 2 + 2 is 5, maybe, okay, maybe.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, but this is super important. Thank you for pointing this out, because this is something that you hear so often, right? When you browse the internet, there are so many people who are just trying to scare people, right? Saying, oh, one math mistake and then you're dinged, right? This is complete nonsense. Yeah. If you are able to show that you are a clear and sharp problem solver, right? This is the quality that they want to see. So make sure that you're able to show this.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks a lot for this great chat. Well, congratulations again, right? When will you be starting with the firm?
September 1st. So okay. I still have some time.
Yes. So yeah, please enjoy the summer, right? Recharge the batteries and then full steam ahead.
Thanks. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Good luck to everyone.